Dans Shararea.
Good morning, everybody. Hello, and welcome to another episode, another experience, another adventure of Cardweaver and Witch, where we basically just talk about the tarot, and have fun, have interesting conversations, and yeah. So I hope that you enjoy this episode, this experience. Today we are going to be talking about let me see if I'm doing let me make sure I'm not muted, because I do that sometimes. The way my the way my microphone is situated, it's like right in front of the where it says I'm muted or not, and so sometimes I forget, which is frustrating, but I'm not muted, so thank goodness. But yeah, today we're going to talk about the five of wands. The five of wands is really funny to me because I see so many different things. I see so many different things a part of it. Like, you can just look at the image, and I think heteros. I think like dudes who are just like, ooh, look at this, look at this size, or look at this size, and they're just like all being so like, people. And it's just funny to me because they're like, oh, let's put this together, and they're like, we don't need the instructions, we don't need the directions, and then you are like trying to figure out what the hell, like, what goes where, what's going on here. I don't know. Because they didn't want to, read the instructions. Stuff like that. So it's just funny to me. I can see conflict here. I can see like the frustration and like either like role play or fighting. And I can also see it's like it's not that serious. It's like, haha, look what I have, because you can see that one individual on the left that's like, I'm so excited. I have this wand in my hand, and woohoo. And it's just funny to me. Like the whole thing is hilarious. But and so yeah, long rambles. I have notes, y'all, so bear with me. But one of the aspects of the five of wands is it represents moments of strife and contention where differing agendas and personalities may clash. This card prompts us to examine our reactions to conflict and the strategies we employ to assert our wills. It challenges us to find constructive paths through discord, transforming rivalry into a catalyst for creativity and change. So, when you have too many people trying to lead, and it's frustrating because you just need that one person to listen to. You just need that one person to guide it and lead and have that direction. And there's just too many. There can be that frustration. There can be that irritation, that very fiery, like, expression of energy. And I think with this, it's so important for us to understand how we behave in situations like this. That yes, personalities might clash. We might not be on the same page, and so we're not communicating the same language. And so I think, like, when this card comes up, for me, like when clients have this card, a lot of times I'm like, you know what? This might be a really good time to have like a group meeting to make sure that everybody is on the same page, to hash things out, to also make sure and to have everyone voice themselves, right? So everyone who's a part of this like team effort or this group project, well, good morning, Christina. Welcome, welcome. Hello. And so, everyone who's a part of this group project, let's get into a space and let's communicate clearly about what's going on. Let's express ourselves, and also let's pick someone to sort of lead, not to be boss around, but to lead and guide the project at large, right? And so, like when this card does pop up for clients, I'm like, you know what? This is a really good time. We need to be on the same page because you can tell like there's a lot of cool creative ideas. Again, wands, fiery, creative, all that space, all that energy, but it needs to be applied and directed correctly, right? And so yeah, uh some sort of, and I try, like I told you yesterday, I try to do these practical applications slightly different, but also I try to keep some same. So we recognize like we don't really have to have all these different tools. We can just adapt the mediations or the role play or whatever to that card, and it can help. So active listening, active listening. I mean, look, when you look at the card, it's like, oh, there's too much. There's all this stuff going on. So one practical, and this is like the essence of conflict, right? The essence of conflict. This first sort of key insight. Uh, Practice active listening techniques in your daily interactions to improve your ability to understand and address the underlying issues and conflicts. This involves fully concentrating, understanding, responding, and then remembering what is being said. And this is why, like I said, get everyone in the same space, have people put their phones away, and communicate, right? Talk, uh actively listen to what is being said, like express yourself, make sure you make eye contact with everyone that's there, share your thoughts, and then one by one allow everyone to speak and actively listen to everyone, ask a question or two, to show that you are paying attention, and make sure that we're doing this. So this is also really great too, to be mindful of when this card pops up, like, oh, where am I not listening? What do I need to pay attention to? Where do I need to have that conversation? Scenario planning, engage in scenario planning, which is kind of like role play, where you anticipate potential conflicts and plan your responses. This can help reduce the emotional intensity during real conflicts, as you have already considered various outcomes and are prepared with solutions. I think this helps a lot, especially in like the workplace, the workforce, where especially for like managers or higher ups, when you're in charge of navigating a collective, right? So scenario planning, the different personalities. You should know, at least if you're a manager, if you're someone in charge, right? You should know the different personalities. You should know how they respond, how they interact with each other, and you should be mindful of that. But when this card pops up, it's like, okay, it might be a good time to see, oh yeah, when this person and this person get together, they butt heads because this one communicates in this way and this one's communication style is so different, and so let me prepare for that. Well, good morning, Diane. Welcome, welcome. Let me prepare for that. And so scenario planning helps you feel at ease as well. So like when you actually, if and when that sort of topic arises, or those two individuals start to, butt heads, then you can step in and be like, hey, why don't we try this out? Why don't we do this? And you can bridge that sort of gap, right? peer mediation, if possible. This is really cool too. You can participate in or organize peer mediation groups where conflicts can be resolved with the help of a neutral third party. This helps understand different perspectives and can teach valuable negotiation skills. So, being able to have a third party where it's like, okay, I hear what you're saying, and this is, it kind of reminds me of those interviews, the Hollywood, was it the Hollywood Roundtable on YouTube, where they get a bunch of actors in, and or actors, actresses, singers, whatever. And you have that individual who's like leading the conversation, like, oh, here, and then pointing at the other person and asking questions there and like bridging the gap. This is really cool to be able to do. It's when the five pops up, this is something that we're mindful of. Peer mediation would be so beneficial right now. It's like having a third party to help navigate this conversation, which is it's, I think it's important because maybe we're mad at each other, for for no real reason. Like, we just misunderstood or misunderstand each other, and we don't have to be the best of friends, the best of coworkers, but like, if we had someone to sort of like help us to facilitate that sort of connection, where we could understand, we could actively listen and really like pay attention to what's being said, and have a third party, like a neutral party, like really help us work through that, then we can have an understanding, right? So when we talk about the essence of conflict here, maybe there's some sort of questions we can ask ourselves or that come up, right? Let me go back to this so we can see that the card at least. So the first question, how do I typically respond to conflict? And what does this say about my underlying needs or fears? So when the Five of Wands pops up, we can ask ourselves and explore the question, how do I typically respond to conflict? And what does this say about my underlying needs or fears? This question encourages an examination of personal conflict styles and motivations, helping to uncover deeper emotional triggers and needs that influence behavior and conflicts. So, even with our clients, we can pose that question to them. What can this conflict teach me about my values and priorities? So we're going through something. What can I learn here? What does it say about my values and priorities? And this question can encourage consideration of how conflicts highlight what is truly important to an individual, which can help in aligning actions more closely with our personal values. And so that's also another important thing, based on this card, is like, what can this conflict teach me about my values and priorities? And are they in alignment with myself? But why am I so passionate about this? Kind of digging deep there. How can I turn this conflict into a constructive dialogue or a learning opportunity? This focuses on transforming conflict from a purely oppositional experience into one that is productive and enlightening, emphasizing skills in communication and negotiation. So that's a really cool aspect to this card, where all of these things are popping up. The Five of Wands, we understand, can usher in conflict and strife and friction oriented things because we're not listening. We don't have the key. We don't have the key that connects us all. And so with this aspect of the card, we can ask certain questions, we can try certain different techniques to sort of rebalance and get ourselves back on track, right? Um wait a minute. Oh, whoops. Okay, okay, right here, right here. Sorry, I was like, where am I? The Five of Wands here. Conflict through through, oh my gosh, conflict, though uncomfortable, is a potent teacher. Engaging with the challenges depicted by the Five of Wands encourages personal development and a deeper understanding of our motivations and values. This card asks us to embrace the chaos of these moments as opportunities for significant growth and self-discovery. So learning from strife, this is a this is a really growth oriented one, and sometimes you're just not there, and sometimes it takes years of personal development and growth, where eventually then you can go back and reflect and look at how you can be better based on what you've experienced, right? And so conflict is uncomfortable, but it is definitely a teacher. It's definitely a great teacher, I feel. We don't want to be in conflict with people, but or situations or events, but it happens. And I think that it helps us to really dig deep into who we are, what we are, where we are in life, and it allows us to explore that. And so, yeah, um, yeah, practical applications here, resilience building. Um, so, learning from resilience building, engage in activities that build resilience, such as regular physical exercise, meditation, or engaging in hobbies that you find relaxing. These activities help you stay balanced and better equipped to handle stress and conflict. So when you're able to and it goes back to yesterday's temperance card, right? Harmony. When you find yourself in a state of harmony, when you're able to balance out like the everyday workforce with personal life and play as well, we feel better. And so when we do have conflict, we are able to maybe handle it in a better way for ourselves, because we're not so stressed or so out of alignment by one aspect of life that we just get carried away, right? Diverse perceptions. So basically seeking diverse perspectives here. Actively seek out and listen to perspectives different from your own, whether through reading documentaries or conversations. Understanding diverse viewpoints can broaden your horizon and reduce conflict born from misunderstandings. And so you can kind of you can look at the card. Let's go back here. You can look at the card here, and you can see that there's a lot going on. There's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different beliefs, and we see this a lot in witchy groups, because you have a majority of people who are, again, this is no judgment, but you have a majority of people who are Wiccan or Wiccan based. You have people who are like adopting things from Charmed, in the sense of like you can't cast for personal gain, which is like really weird to me, because witchcraft was founded, like it came out of necessity. It was birthed out of necessity, out of oppression, out of all of those things, that deep visceral place. And so like we've always cast for things we want and needed, like for getting through life. And so now people are like, oh, you can't use it for personal gain. And it's like, no. But you see what I'm saying here. And so you can see all of these different individuals in the Five of Wands. You have a lot of people passionate about their beliefs, passionate about their actions, passionate about the way they do things, but they forget that the way they do things is simply their own. And it is okay to express your opinion, your perception, but in a way that is open to receiving other people's perceptions as well. So we're doing so in a way that again, we're getting diverse perceptions and perspectives of different things. So when we formulate a response, when we're conversing with people, when we're engaging in situations, it's more from a place of understanding. And this helps with conflict, because if I can like, there's sometimes like different cultures, different peoples, they speak a certain way, and some people are very sensitive to it. They're like, oh, you're rude, you're very rude and arrogant. And it's like, no, that's just the way they communicate. They're really not being rude. Those are just the words they use, that's the tone they have. You're interpreting it in a way that is rude, because in your culture, in your whatever, in your world, speaking like that, and it means I'm rude to you, right? Does that make sense? And so it's like under having a comprehension of various backgrounds and different people's perceptions. It really helps us to see something in a way that it isn't so personalized, and that's really important sometimes, especially in conflict, right? So like professional development, um, seminars, workshops, whatever. You can attend seminars that focus on personal growth and professional development, particularly those that deal with conflict management and effective communication. Learning these skills in a formal setting can directly impact how you handle strife in personal and professional relationships. There are like workshops and seminars for like managers, right? How to build a better team, how to neutralize conflict, or how to address conflict, because some managers don't want to address it at all, and then things just get worse, right? And so this is an aspect of the card in development. Like maybe it's time to learn how to develop these conflict resolution skills, these the ability to mediate and all that stuff. Maybe it's time to grow in that department and learn about that. That is definitely an aspect here for the card, for this card. So some questions we might ask ourselves here, or clients, depending on what we're doing. This aspect, learning from strife. So, what specific growth have I experienced as a result of past conflicts? That's a very interesting one, I find. What specific growth have I experienced as a result of past conflicts? This can encourage recognition of personal development and strength gained through adversity, which can increase resilience and confidence in handling future challenges. Like I said, y'all, like I've always been passionate about my craft. I've always been passionate about holding space for conversation of things that some people think taboo or whatever, to make people feel comfortable, because there's a need for all of that. So like, back in the day, we would talk about topics that people were like, just, you can't talk about that, you can't talk that way, you can't say those things, and people would get so mad at us, like so mad. And sure, there was a lot of conflict there, which I find funny, because some of the same people are the ones who are actually talking about the same subjects now, like, what, 10 years later or so, whatever, they're talking about it now as if they invented the topic. So that's hilarious. Maybe that's a little petty of me. But I go back and I look at that conflict, and I've learned a lot. Like through that conflict, I've learned how I get triggered. And so I've learned how, like, sometimes I feel backed into a corner, and then like my hoops go down, and I'm ready to go for the throat. Like, you're not gonna, no, we will fight. I've learned to sort of mitigate that, through those conflicts at those times in my life, how I handled them. I've learned so much now, so I can go back and revisit and know that if I were to have the same conflict, I would handle it differently. But been a great teacher. So I feel like I've grown a lot. I feel like I'm better equipped to handle those tough conversations and not to make it so personal. So yeah. So that's one question to sort of like delve into when this card pops up. How can I approach conflicts more as opportunities for learning rather than threats? This aims to shift the mindset towards seeing conflict as a necessary part of growth and development, fostering a more open and proactive approach to talent challenges. Oh my god. So that's a really good question also to explore. How can I approach conflicts more as opportunities for learning rather than threats? Because we're just trying to live this life. We're just trying to live this experience, and we're not in competition here. We don't need to be. It's more like, okay, there's something that's being activated here. How can I approach this to grow? How can I approach this as an opportunity for growth and learning? And maybe we can be better for it. Maybe not, but like let's do our best. At least we will feel better when we approach it as an opportunity, rather than a threat, right? And so the third question associated with this aspect, um, in what ways can I improve my resilience to better adapt to the inevitable conflicts that rise? And this prompts consideration of strategies to bolster emotional and mental resilience, such as through stress management techniques, supportive relationships, or professional guidance. So, like, we know how we get when we're in conflict, right? Like we know. Like I told you, it used to be like, bitch, you want to say something to me? My hoops are already down, my eyebrows are locked in, and I'm ready to go for the throat. Like we're gonna have words, and my words are going to definitely obliterate you, right? Not all very rarely a healthy way to be, but that's how I was. Like, no, we're not going to go there, right? We're not going to go there. I will show you what's what. So, I've learned so much about just if I allow myself to just be who I am, if I allow myself to live my life, to experience what I want to experience, when people say things that really just go against of who I am or what I am, I don't have to take it so personally because it is rarely ever about me. It's about their projection. Does that make sense? So their projection of a situation based on their upbringing, their culture, their beliefs, chosen and not maybe, all of this stuff factors into who they are at their core and who they choose to be. And so, like, when they're saying stuff, I recognize now, like, I've learned for more about myself and how I work. So I've learned to be like, you know what? That's their opinion. That's their perception. They have a reason for that. I don't agree, but I'm also not going to invest so much energy into the fight. Does that make sense? And so, um, yeah. In what ways can I improve my resilience to better adapt to the inevitable conflicts that arise? I feel like all people in charge of like groups of people, like managers, whatever, they really need to learn from this card. They really do. Um, and so, our last sort of key insight, the Five of Wands is harnessing the fire. Um, harnessing the fire. The element of fire is so right. They do. Like, I mean, people in charge need to learn how to communicate with different personalities, different cultures, all these things. Um, well, and that's the whole, that's like, that's thank you for sharing that. But sometimes you have to go there. You can only be someone's punching bag for so long. It's all about perspective, sure. But like, I don't even feel in that sense, it's not about being a punching bag. First of all, you should never be a punching bag at all, whatsoever. But like, see, that's yes. You do have to affirm your boundaries. You do have to assert yourself. And so like when someone if there's conflict, you have to learn for yourself like how do you resolve that? And sometimes resolving conflict is simply like affirming that boundary and moving on. But never, allow yourself to be a punching bag. And so like yeah, people can say what they want to me. Like that's fine. Like now it's like who are you? You're and I don't mean it in a demeaning way. I don't mean it in a rude way, but it's like who are you? You don't pay my bills. You don't live my life. You don't know what's going on in my heart. You don't know what's going on in my head. And so like you can project all you want. It's kind of like the anti-LGBTQIA plus people. There's some people who would rather see me dead than alive because of who I am, right? I'm not fighting that. I'm not fighting that directly, right? So it's people like to protest or have their signs and say you deserve to not be here. God hates you. And I was like, which one? Okay, but like it's like I'm not going to go out there and like yell at them and fight them. I recognize they have their beliefs. I don't like it. It hurts me, but also it doesn't hurt me that much because they're nothing to me. I am going to use my resources, my time, my energy to invest into my community to share uplifting and supportive thoughts for my people, and for who I choose to be around instead. That makes me feel better. And so I feel like there's, yeah, you do have to affirm boundary, but you also have to recognize like it's not necessarily um yeah, don't ever be someone's punching bag. Definitely perspective. The element of fire is associated with the suit of wands is all about action, passion, transformation, assertiveness, can be aggressiveness as well. Action, like again, action oriented. The five of wands infused with this fiery energy calls us to harness our inner strength and direct our energies towards achieving our goals despite the apparent obstacles. It's a reminder that the battles we face can ignite the spark of innovation and lead to new ways of thinking and being. So, what does that say to you? How does that make you feel? I really like this about this card because, again, there is that sort of fiery nature. And I believe five of let me make sure. I think five of wands is associated with the first decan of Leo fire, right? Um Leo, but also I think it's Saturn in Leo. So Saturn's very restrictive, like law abiding, like let's hold it back a little. And you can kind of see Saturn, like Saturn's what am I trying to say? The necessity for Saturn here, because Saturn is like, look, all of this chit chat, all of this conflict, this strife, we really can avoid. Let's move a little slower. Let's take a step back. Let's recognize and learn from our experiences that fighting or that initial conflict is not necessary. Sure, let's be smart about this. So let's a slow burn versus just like boom. Um, yeah, uh-huh. So yeah, I used to do that too. And more so I wouldn't even sit back. Just like just like one poke. I'm like, here I go. Hoops Dan ready. Um, so I really like the transformation of fire here. Um, and we need to recognize like the five of wands, there is that fire association. Fire can ignite a spark of creation, but it can also be extreme destruction. But also we have to recognize like even when fire is in its most destructive force, right, in its most destructive role, it's still clearing the way for something to be birthed. And sometimes that fiery like destruction is so overwhelming and painful and scary, but somewhere someone is going to be able to be birthed from that, right? Does that make sense? So there's always that sort of I guess duality or that ebb and flow to life there with fire. um and it does require us to harness that strength, harness that fire, because again, if we think about it, all of these individuals here, if you see that they all have their wands can be like all of their ideas and all of their passions and fiery nature and their excitement, and everyone's excited. Ooh, let's do this, let's do this. And it doesn't mean that all of the suggestions or the creative ideas are wrong. It just means that there's too many right off the bat. And so like we have to tame that fire. We're with the five of wands, we're learning that instead of conflict, we can come together and we can kind of express our ideas and learn how to like work through it and create a course of action that will put us all in alignment together to help create something even better. Does that make sense? So, um practical applications here and other developments, right? Start a personal project that channels your passions in a constructive way. Um, whether it's starting a blog, a community project, a new business venture, use your energy to create something beneficial. Yes. So it's personal development projects. So you see what I'm saying? Like with all of the fiery nature, like all of these ideas and all this stuff, like really cool. Use it to your advantage. Maybe you share one with the group where you can work together, and all the other ideas you save to work out on the side, because again you recognize like not all of these things are meant for this one project. And so start a personal project that channels all these passions in a constructive way. Again, a blog, community project, new business, like a side hustle or not so side hustle. Use your energy to create something beneficial. And so anything with strife or that meant is good in spell workings under temperance when pairing exactly. And that's really cool too, because we had temperance yesterday and now we have this conflict. So it's like, and temperance is about balancing the two, right? um yeah, I like that. And so use all of this to your advantage. Like, ooh, you have ideas, you have things you want to create. Find a way to channel your fiery energy. And that's another thing. Like, this doesn't have to be fighting or conflict with other people. This can very well be personal conflict with self. Like, I have so many things I want to do. That was slightly Oprah-ish. I don't know why. I don't know why. No, no. Um and so get it all out on paper. And what can you do with it? Like, figure out all the things you want and then start coming up with a plan to make it happen. And where is the best way to channel that energy, right? I like to divine with a trump card, yeah, major arcana, and a court card, minor arcana, then keep it consecrated with a candle. Yeah, I love it. I love it. um Volunteer work. Use your drive and passion to volunteer for causes that are important to you. This can provide a productive outlet for your energy and be extremely rewarding. The Five of Wands allows us this intense energy. It's like really generating energy, especially like again associated with Leo. Leo also has that like showmanship and excitement and let's do something big. But also Saturn is just like, let's apply our energy appropriately. And so figure out where that outlet is for you and use it to your advantage. Strategic career planning. Utilize your ambition to plan and execute career goals that require assertiveness and drive. Setting clear ambitious goals can help focus your energy productively and keep you motivated. Oh my gosh, why can't I talk? Probably because I've been like rambling for like 5 years now. um but you can see how all of these are associated with this card. And these are just simple ways to maybe utilize the card's energy. um some questions we can delve into with the Five of Wands and this specific aspect. What are some, like, harnessing the fire, so what are some constructive ways I can express my passion and energy when faced with opposition or challenges? This encourages the child. Oh my. Take a breather. Take a breather. All right. This encourages the channeling of intense energy into productive activities or advocacy, turning potential conflict into positive action. So, what are some constructive ways I can express my passion and energy when faced with opposition or challenges? That's something we can explore when this card comes up. um how can I maintain my drive and focus in the midst of conflict without burning out? That's a huge one too. This focuses on balance and self-care strategies to ensure that the pursuit of goals is sustainable and does not lead to exhaustion or disillusionment. So when the Five of Wands pops up, it can very well be personal energy. Like all of these create, like those individuals, if you think about it, they are holding different like creative outlets we want to do. And so like which one is going to win? Let them fight it out and figure out which one's going to win. But seriously, like there's so many things we want. We really need to be mindful that we should lay them out on paper and list them out as to like the most important to us, all the way down to the least important. And maybe then we can start focusing on that most important goal or creative outlet and start working that. Does that make sense? So it's like there's, you can see, I'm gonna we're gonna talk yarn a little bit. So this also makes me, I was gonna share this earlier and I forgot, but the Five of Wands here, it makes me think of when you're when you buy like yarn and it doesn't come, it's not like what caked or anything, it's just like all over the place and you have to kind of pull it apart and figure out, and it's like all tangled, or you get yarn, it's a tangled mess. And that, this card reminds me of that. You have to like be delicate, you have to like pay attention to untangle or detangle the yarn, and you have to like really pull it apart and kind of like go slow so you don't make knots, stuff like that. And I feel like this is important because when we have this card, we might be in this energy where we're channeling so much fire, so much creative ideas, so many projects we want, that we do need to actually ground out. And grounding out means putting it on paper, physically, like putting it on paper to see all of the things we think we want, we desire, and lay them out in a way that we can actually work with. And then what can I actually do? What is too much? Because we don't want to burn out. And if we're constantly running our fire at full capacity, we are going to burn out. So we need to learn to maintain. What strategies can I use to ensure that my actions in a competitive what strategies can I use to ensure that my actions in a competitive environment are both effective and ethical? This encourages ethical considerations in competitive situations, ensuring that actions align with personal and professional integrity, and consider the broader impact on others. So that's another question that we can kind of like consider as we tap into this aspect of the card. I really like the Five of Wands for us today. I really feel like it can be having a healthy understanding of competition, having a healthy understanding of conflict, right? Conflict, we don't have to shut down when conflict arises. We can recognize like conflict is allowing us, if we go into like law of attraction shit, we can recognize that conflict is a great catalyst to show us what we actually do want. And so if we think of conflict as an indicator that the other, like there's conflict, which is maybe what we don't want, and then the other aspect of what we really do want, they're tied together. And it's just up to us to turn ourselves around and to focus on what we do want. So that conflict is showing us that there is something going on in life right now that needs to be addressed and worked through and navigated so we can receive our desires, the reward, or what we want. We don't have to live in conflict. It's just showing up like now we're being given an opportunity to grow. We're being given an opportunity to to make less of a mess of this experience. So again, the Five of Wands can show up as disagreements with other people, tension with other people. And so if this is the aspect that comes up for us or for you, be mindful that there's just a lot of fire here. There's a lot of fire here, and it's not stable. And so when something's not stable, we do need to find a grounding mechanism. We need to find something that can ground out. And so when we recognize, like, oh, the Five of Wands is popping up, there's a little bit of instability. We need to be mindful, because unstable fire, not so fun, but also can be very, very rewarding. So when we recognize that this is coming up, we can then choose to be mindful and use it to our advantage by, again, Saturn and Leo, by slowing things down, restricting the flow of certain things, being a very, very clear and direct in communication, showing up in a way that we're actively participating and engaged in what's going on, making sure everyone is focusing, you know, and on the same page. So, yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of rambles. But that's what's popping up today for the Five of Wands. If you have any last minute thoughts, questions, concerns, feel free to comment. Feel free to respond to the recording if you're watching the recording of this. I really thank everyone for participating and commenting. I like it. It helps a lot to direct conversation, and I just love seeing what everyone else has to say as well. So thank you so much for that. And I hope that you enjoy these and look forward to these. I enjoy doing them. But yeah, let me see. I will be back. What is today? It's only Tuesday. Oh, tomorrow. Oh my gosh, y'all, tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow with an interesting card to talk about. Tomorrow's card is going to be the Three of Swords reversed. So yeah, that should be that should be interesting. But yeah, I will talk to you all very soon. So take care, enjoy the rest of your day, and have fun. Okay, bye.